Stephanie White pretty much ditching Caitlin Clark. Yes, she's ditching her, bro. She's ditching her in a major way. Because you want to know why? Because she's turning this team over to none other than Kelsey Mitchell. It's been Kelsey Mitchell the whole step of the way. And I'm telling you right now, if they build this thing around Kelsey Mitchell, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work at all. Now, there is going to be some cap situation.
A stronger sense of caution has settled over discussions surrounding the league. Just recently, Stephanie White delivered a heated, ideology-driven message aimed at Caitlin Clark supporters, essentially telling them their viewership and financial support weren't wanted. That message apparently landed, since Clark is sitting out of tonight's matchup, and it appears fans are responding with a full boycott of the broadcast. Meanwhile, ESPN chose to dedicate its Sunday night slot entirely to women's basketball, pushing Major League Baseball aside for the evening, and selected the Aces against the Fever as the featured matchup, putting Clark head-to-head with A'ja Wilson.
Going to be some cap situations going on for next season. Indiana Fever going to have a tough pill to swallow here because I believe Caitlin Clark is eligible for the Supermax or a max next year. Now, I still believe Caitlin Clark is going to get the hell out of Indy after this year. That's just my own personal theory. It ain't nobody else's opinion. It ain't fact. I just want to let y'all know that. This is just what I believe. Now, let's say Caitlin Clark be a good girl for the Fever and be like, you know what, I'll run it back one more year despite how this season go.
Worth noting, Tom Brady and Mark Davis, the same ownership group behind the Raiders, also own the Aces. So rather than getting a marquee showdown comparable to elite quarterbacks facing off, viewers are left with a far less compelling pairing, something closer to backup-tier talent going head-to-head. That's not a game worth tuning into, unlike NFL matchups, which draw serious attention regardless of who's playing, whether it's lower-tier teams or not. Interest instead turns toward browsing streaming platforms for something else entirely, maybe a horror film, given a recent renewed interest in that genre.
Year despite how this season go. She running back. What they gonna do with Kelsey Mitchell? The whole person they didn't pretty much sacrifice 2 seasons for to build the offense around. Y'all can't pay everybody. Kelsey Mitchell gonna think she's a supermax player. Now I'm not saying she don't deserve the supermax, but let's see how Kelsey Mitchell play for a team where she's not the primary target or the primary person that the offense is running through. Because it's clear as day it is. She down there had 30 yesterday. She's averaging over 20 points, and she's having 3 assists.
Social media reaction from Clark's fan base has been intense. The Fever injury report confirmed Clark's status for tonight, ruled out. Framing it plainly,
she's averaging over 20 points, and she's having 3 assists. She ain't passing the ball. She's chunking up shots. I think we all could agree on that. Now, this was Stephanie White at the conclusion of the game last night, man. Now, I'm telling you this, bro. This is troubling. This is troubling as an Indiana Fever fan. Now, I know some of y'all might have heard this earlier today, but hell, we got to play it again. We got to play it again like a mug. Because I want y'all to listen very good to what she's saying. Let's start it over.
All right, y'all. Great job.
Some joked their fishing plans just improved. Others speculated the team should hold her out of the following matchup entirely, given how things have played out, wondering aloud whether there's some pattern to her repeated injuries, questioning if returning too soon would only lead to another absence down the line. Predictions circulated that she'd likely play just one game of the upcoming back-to-back, before sitting the second one out entirely. Comment after comment echoed similar sentiment, not watching, uninterested in seeing another guard control the ball in her place. Disappointed that simply watching Clark play basketball this season has become such a struggle.
Let's start it over.
All right, y'all. Great job. Great job. We did a lot of great things. I'm sure this has to be a season low 7 turnovers. Wow.
Look at her. I'm sure. And then she immediately looks at the camera. See, I had to go back and watch this to get the full understanding and context of what she's saying. She immediately looks at the camera.
You take care of the ball, you give yourself a chance, right? 13 offensive rebounds. Excellent.
One fan reframed it sharply, suggesting her prolonged absence reflects an organization and coaching staff failing to have her back rather than a legitimate injury. Several expressed a strange sense of relief in having a reason to disengage entirely from the franchise. Others clarified their loyalty lies specifically with Clark rather than the team as a whole, with one admitting it's unfortunate, given an appreciation for another player on the roster, Sophie Cunningham, but that the coach's recent comments soured that goodwill completely. Criticism piled on, describing the coaching staff and front office as among the least competent in the sport.
She bragging about 30.
Extra possessions matter. We out-rebounded them 39-30. Really good stuff. First quarter, y'all, they shot 62%. By the second quarter, we had them down to 45. By the third quarter, down to 40. And we ended the game in the 40s. And third quarter, 26-14. We came out of the gate ready to go. Okay, all of that matters. All of that matters. We were resilient early in the first quarter, and then we continued to climb throughout the rest of the game. Okay, really proud of you guys.
The comment section grew increasingly heated from there. Some demanded more transparency about the nature of the injury. Others leaned into conspiracy theories, suggesting deliberate targeting behind the ongoing absence, framing it as intentional aggression from opposing players. One comment singled out Alyssa Thomas directly, arguing she deserved a suspension matching the number of games Clark has missed.
That's a great win. It's a great effort. All right.
Yeah, so that was Stephanie White at the conclusion of the game. Now I'm here to tell you, she had some more stuff to say at the podium. Now this was Stephanie White at the podium.
More fans chimed in, confirming they'd be skipping tonight's broadcast, some using strong language to express frustration with the coaching staff's judgment, calling the entire situation disgraceful and entirely avoidable had the league handled things with more competence. Attention turned toward an image circulating of Kelsey Mitchell, the player stepping into the temporary starting role in Clark's absence, with commentary suggesting the coaching staff and front office were disrespecting the fan base through their handling of the situation. Acknowledging the coach could watch the reaction and dismiss it as an overblown social media response, commenters insisted the criticism wouldn't stop, with some threatening to take the conversation to a much larger platform with a far bigger audience. Others emphasized they wouldn't be watching because player safety wasn't being prioritized, describing the situation as disrespectful toward the fan base. Careful to clarify, frustration wasn't directed at the substitute player herself, but rather at how team leadership has handled everything. Feeling for her being placed in a difficult spot amid what some described as a damaging situation, shaped by the coach's choices affecting Clark's career trajectory. A few said they'd only reconsider watching if the coach faced real accountability. Without Clark active, viewership on Sunday appeared to plummet entirely. Multiple fans confirmed they'd return once Clark is back playing, insisting the organization must do a better job protecting her, with some noting they were essentially following the coach's own suggestion not to watch. Looking through the responses, it's clear a large portion of the fanbase has ruled out watching tonight, with injury descriptions ranging across nearly every body part imaginable, and reasons extending well beyond physical concerns to include front office decisions and coaching conduct.
As the same level of problem as a person, in Sophie Cunningham's case, showing up to her workplace with a stalker showing up to her workplace trying to get a package to her. They equate all of those as similar negatives. And the problem is that it's all under the big umbrella of online hate. Let's be very clear. What some people did to Dawana Bonner, and
questions lingered over whether the front office and head coach had shown any real respect toward the supporter base, with a clear consensus that they hadn't. Some pointing out the coaching staff appeared to be actively encouraging the divisive tone rather than addressing it. Watching the team without Clark simply didn't feel worthwhile to many, and there was a strong sense that loyal fans were being pushed away rather than welcomed, with frustration mounting over having personal beliefs treated as unwelcome by team leadership. Many agreed there had been no justification for the coach's earlier remarks, and that backing the player involved so publicly reflected poor judgment, described by some as a serious professional misstep, essentially working against.
Be very clear. What some people did to Dewana Bonner and Alyssa Thomas, well, Dewana Bonner especially, is not online hate. Like somebody sending you a picture of your house online is not online hate. But also, in that scenario there, that is why are we speaking out about this? Go to the fucking police. Like, there's nothing to be gained in that scenario by going to the media, other than saying, this affects me, so therefore the next person that wants to piss me off.
Some of what she said publicly may have come across as a bit blunt, but that doesn't mean it missed the point. There's a meaningful gap between stating something accurate and stating it delicately, and the larger context deserves attention. When people receive threats to their safety, or when someone tracks down a person's home address, that is a serious matter that cannot be waved off. Cunningham was clearly not referring to that category of behavior when she spoke.
This person that wants to piss me off is going to do this exact thing. That's all going to the media does. But with Sophie Cunningham, you've got like writers saying some of the most dumb shit I've ever seen about Sophie Cunningham. Like I saw a post being like, with Sophie Cunningham, it's like, says the person who's not dealing with hateful remarks, not dealing with racism, and is benefiting from these things above, of the online hate. It's like, well, I'm like, her stalker got arrested 10 days ago. The same people that are saying that Sophie Cunningham is not experiencing any of the hate.
A recurring issue within the league is the tendency to flatten every form of criticism into one single category. Calling a player's shooting form weak gets treated with the same weight as someone physically showing up at a player's home or workplace to deliver an unwanted, threatening package. Both get filed under the same broad label of online hate, when they are not remotely equivalent. What happened to Dewana Bonner, and separately to Alyssa Thomas, does not belong in the same bucket as ordinary internet criticism.
Are literally out there hating on Sophie Cunningham online. It's like Sophie Cunningham. There was a complete lie made up that Sophie Cunningham was sleeping with the CEO of the Phoenix Suns. And where did it come from? There was like a notorious workplace person who sues. Basically everyone knows people like that, or has known of people like that. That they're notorious for suing every work.
Having someone post a photo of your house is not comparable to a rude comment online. It's a matter for law enforcement, not a media statement. Speaking publicly about that kind of incident mainly serves to put people on notice that this behavior has consequences. That's really the only function public statements serve in those cases. With Cunningham specifically, plenty of commentators produced strangely dismissive takes, framing her as someone who supposedly doesn't face real hostility and instead benefits from the current climate.
Those people like that, or has known of people like that. That they're notorious for suing every workplace they work for whatever reason. And apparently she just handed in a list of stuff and just listed a whole bunch of just lies. And in it says she overheard somebody talking about how somebody else told them somebody else was sleeping with Sophie Cunningham. Like, that is all it was. It was in a lawsuit. And the person who...
That framing ignores the fact that a man who had been stalking her was arrested only a short time ago. The very people insisting she isn't targeted by hate are often the ones publicly attacking her online. There's also been a completely fabricated story claiming she was involved with a team executive.
All it was in a lawsuit. And the person who allegedly lied throughout it. Allegedly lied, I don't know exactly the person. But... What was said in the lawsuit, which was, again, allegedly fabricated. Either way, even in the lawsuit, it wasn't alleged that Sophie Cunningham did it. It says she heard someone who heard someone said that she did. Like, what are we doing? What are we actually doing? And that is being spoken about by Sophie Cunningham's haters like it's fact.
The origin traces back to a workplace dispute involving someone known for repeatedly filing lawsuits against past employers. In the filing, that person claimed to have overheard someone say they'd heard from someone else that Cunningham was involved with this person. That's the entire chain. Third-hand hearsay, buried in a legal filing that may itself have been largely fabricated.
And so by Sophie Cunningham's haters, like it's fact. Like it's fact. Like if you ever see any of those, there's one of these weird pages where it's like, oh yeah, anonymous tips. Anytime it's like, oh yeah, this WNBA player has been caught cheating on their partner with an owner. Oh, Sophie Cunningham, you can't call her a star. It's Sophie Cunningham. It's like, I don't understand how the player who gets in the top 5 most hate of any player in the WNBA in Sophie Cunningham. Like, after Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, after the two of them.
Even within that filing, nobody directly alleged Cunningham did anything.
After Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, after the two of them, and Brittany Griner, let's be very, very clear. Let's be very clear, especially after what happened with her, like, and Brittany Griner. Like, we're going to put them as the top 3 who get most hate. And then there's a gap. Then maybe Sophie's getting close to that. But after that, there's a gap. There's a big gap after that. Like, Sophie Cunningham, there are not 5 more players in the league that get more hate than Sophie Cunningham. And it's the same people that are saying Sophie Cunningham.
After those 3, there's a noticeable drop-off, and Cunningham sits closer to that gap than anyone else. The same voices claiming she experiences no hostility are often the ones piling on. When her stalker's arrest became public, some tried to spin it as proof that Clark's fanbase is unhinged, since the individual was reportedly a Clark supporter.